There's a lot of big guys out there these days. Real big guys. You think you've seen a big one, and then bam, there's an even bigger one. Now that first guy doesn't even seem that big. It wasn't always like this. Guys weren't always this damn big. Modern humans emerged about 300,000 years ago, but it took a while before obesity really kicked in. In ancient times, there were fat guys, but not that many, and they rarely made history. It took longer to paint a picture of a fat guy because paint was limited back then and canvases were expensive, so most paintings you see are pretty regular guys, not fat at all. Back then, being fat meant you were greedy. It meant you were taking more than your share. Everybody was mad at you. Damn, man, why'd you eat the whole goat? That was for the village. We only had one goat. Then they might sacrifice you to the gods afterwards, but that meant they had to carry you up the volcano. You're too damn big for that. It was hard to gain weight in pre-modern times. This wasn't just about gaining weight, but keeping it on. These were hunter-gatherer times. You got fat, and somehow you didn't manage to burn it off, even though we had to walk everywhere. You had to chase after your food, so you'd think the exercise would be built in. But no, not for you. The agricultural revolution. Now this was when people learned how to farm. That's when we got big farm boys. You know how they are. The agricultural revolution was the first time that humans could really stay in one place for a long time and just focus on eating. If you were smart, you could convince somebody else to do your farm work for you. Tell them that you talked to God and He said this was the way. Another thing about the agricultural revolution, before this it was all meat and vegetables, but the agricultural revolution brought carbohydrates, which really just make you more hungry. You're eating food and it's making you want more food. Now this might have been when belts were first created, but nobody knows for sure. But we do know guys were getting big back then. Real big. The Industrial Revolution. Now you're eating by candlelight. Imagine that. Stuffing your big fat face. Some little peasant kids are looking in through the window, trying to get a glimpse of your big meal. All you gotta do is bark at them and they scatter. You know how those kids are. The Industrial Revolution is when people really started getting rich. This was when wealth was really like becoming actual wealth, and you could start to stack your bread. And I mean, once you had money back then, sure, you could buy a house. You all probably owned a boat and, you know, a nice red coat or something. But at a certain point, all you can really spend your money on is big fat goose. Big fat goose meat. And just stuff your face. This was also the era of train travel. Now imagine that. Imagine being a big fat guy traveling across the country in a train, eating roast pig by candlelight. You'd probably have thought, oh, this is it. Things are never going to get better than this. The 20th century was when things got way better, or at least fatter. The 20th century is when obesity became possible for just regular folks. I mean, there's a grocery store open all day, and you can just walk in anytime you want and hand over a little bit of money and just cook yourself a nice big pile of eggs. I bet you like eggs, don't you? Yeah, you do. This was also when they started putting chemicals and everything. So food that isn't good now tastes good. This wasn't possible before. Before the 20th century, food was just food. It was what it was, and it tasted good or it tasted bad. But now food can be bad, but taste good. Food exists on multiple dimensions now. I mean, you don't know where the stuff came from, but damn sure tastes good. The 20th century was also an era of variety. This was when people could really eat whatever they wanted. Regular people can now eat food from around the world and develop a taste for the exotic and foreign. Hey, who knows? Maybe I'll have food from China tonight, or maybe Mexico. This was the life of a king. The 20th century was probably the peak of obesity, in the sense that you could be fat and nobody would really tell you that you could do anything otherwise. There was no guilt. Max fat, no worries. This was also when people started first trying to lose weight. They weren't good at it yet, but people did jog sometimes, so they started the path. They're getting there. The 21st century. Now obesity is a whole thing that everybody knows about. And you go to the doctor and they're mad at you and they're trying to give you a list of stuff. Doctors love giving you a list. Things to avoid. And it's all your favorite stuff on there. I mean, what are you going to do? The damage has been done. Some people are fatter than ever now. You could even get famous just for eating a lot on YouTube. It happens all the time, especially in Korea. Ozempic is now supposed to be a big thing, but I think we all know this won't last. Ozempic is a drug that makes you not think about food anymore. And I mean, really, what kind of life is that? What else is there to do? Answer me. What does the future of obesity hold? Nobody knows. I mean, how much fatter can guys get? It's hard to picture, but I guess we'll have to try.